Okay, everybody is muted and we're recording and the chat function is up. I'm on. Okay. I am going to share my screen there in the PowerPoint. All right, guys. Well, hey, welcome to our first episode of the Sagamore Shorts. We are live on Zoom right now. We're also live via Facebook, on Facebook Live. So a lot of technology things happening all at once here tonight, which is fun and exciting, especially since we've all been quarantined inside our houses all day. So nice to have a little fun and do some scouting here tonight with you guys. I am going to turn it over to our scout executive, Ben Blumenberg, and he's going to take the better part of the call tonight. So, Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Can I get a thumbs up if everybody can hear me okay? All right. Awesome. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're all faring well. Hope everybody's adjusting to this new normal well. I can tell you there's been a couple of bumps in our household, but by and large, things are going well, and we're all surviving. So hopefully your families are doing well as well. Real quick, I want to jump through some ground rules for tonight just to make this efficient and to help everybody have a great experience. Number one, let's make sure that we're using the chat function in the Zoom. When we get towards the end, if there's a question that's too much for the chat function, we'll open it up and kind of take turns running through that. But for now, if there's something simple that you want to ask, throw it in the chat function. Brian's going to monitor that, and either he or I will attempt to answer those as we go. Also, we muted everybody when you came in just to make it a little bit easier. So if you're not muted, you can go ahead and mute yourself there. That'll certainly be helpful. And if you would, go ahead and put where you're from, who you are in the chat function, just so we've got a little bit of an idea who's joining us tonight. So again, thanks for taking some time with us. We intend for this to be kind of a quick rundown, give you some up-to-date information and help you continue to serve the kids that you care so much about and that you're trying to serve through the scouting program. So let's jump right in, Brian. So some of you may have seen, we have updated the front page of the council website. You'll find a couple of key things there that I want to draw your attention to, and we'll talk through a little bit more tonight. One is a link to the most pressing upcoming events that will also tell you which of those events have been postponed, or if we get to a point where we have to all-out cancel an event, we'll post it there as well. We've also got some updates as to what we're doing and how we encourage units to exist and to manage through the current scenario and the current pandemic. And then we've got a collection of resources in that Scouting at Home tab that we're going to talk a little bit about tonight and that I draw your attention to, so that we can do a better job connecting the scouting program to families and allowing families to continue on their Scouts journey, to keep them engaged and keep them focused on something other than the world around them. We know that certainly the stress we all feel is felt by our kids and the kids we serve as well. And my goal and our goal with scouting is to be able to provide that constant, that sense of continuity and that safe space for the kids that we work with all year long to be able to continue on in something that's important to them. Kids can't go to school and visit with their friends anymore. Kids aren't playing baseball like they were. I've got a third grader at home who's disappointed about that right now. Dens aren't able to meet in the way that they were able to meet. Troops aren't able to camp out right now. But we have some opportunities to be creative and provide resources for our leaders and our scouts and our families to help provide that sense of normalcy. So we've added a collection of those resources on that events page, or on that Scouting at Home page, that I think you'll find helpful. So first, I want to give you a quick update of the events page. You'll see first out of the gate on this list, the Scouting for Eggs Adult Easter Egg Hunt. which was scheduled for the first weekend in April, has been postponed. For most of these events, we're holding off for now to reschedule them. We want to get through the next 7 to 10 days and get some guidance from our local, state and national officials on what the current state of affairs is and what the current county or government, county, state, or national regulations are in terms of events before we reschedule them and then have to schedule them again. So we intend to go forward with as many of these as we can, but we're not making that decision just yet as to when and where they'll be. You'll see all the way down through the Citizenship in the Merit Badge, or Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge Skill Center that's been postponed. We anticipate having to make a change to Wood Badge. We're looking at the opportunities there, but the first weekend of Wood Badge now falls still within our 8-week window of time that we don't want to gather in mass groups. And so we're looking at that. That could very well be pushed later into the spring or potentially into the fall, but that's something that council leadership and the council program committee and those involved with Wood Badge are all in conversations about. So let's switch to what this means for units in the council and our properties. And so we've asked that all units cease meetings. This is critically important. You're hearing it from everybody, but regardless of the fact that it's all over the news, I still see kids running around my neighborhood and neighbors gathering together and kids going for play dates at other kids' houses. That is exactly the opposite of what we want to be doing right now. And so we've taken the step of closing the office and closing all the camps for the time being. We're asking all of our Scout volunteers and leaders to do the same. Stay home. That's the recommendation you're getting from everyone right now. But if my voice lends any more additional credence to that, I certainly want to echo that. Stay home. Enjoy the time at home with your families. Let's do our best to keep ourselves and our neighbors healthy. As we look at some of those events and cancellations, so for council events that we end up having to cancel, we will absolutely refund individual or unit money. We understand the pressure that this puts on people. We're committed to that. That goes for camp reservations as well. If you had a troop that had a scheduled camp out at one of our camps, the ladies are working to reschedule those now or to initiate refunds. I can tell you from a business operations standpoint, initiating the refunds right now is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us because, again, the office is closed. And so while we can cancel the event, we're a little bit limited on the ability to cut checks and work through some of those processes. We are working through that. That's certainly a priority. But I just ask that you give us a little bit of a leeway and have a little patience with us as we try and figure out how we go through those processes remotely. You know, as you think about your district executive staff, they're all over the place all the time. They're confident working remotely. They do it regularly. They're often working out of their cars or out of coffee shops or libraries throughout the community. Our support staff is not accustomed to that. And the business that they do on behalf of scouting doesn't lend itself as easily to working remote. And so that provides a little bit of a challenge for us. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to continue to monitor the mail and pay bills on a weekly basis, just with a very limited staff, which oftentimes may mean that it's me, right? So I'm going to be the one that goes to the office and takes care of the mail and processes the bills and sets all that up for payment. So that nobody else is in contact with any of that, and we're just limiting the exposure as best we can. So Brian, let's move ahead to the scouting at home piece. So if you've been following some of the announcements we've sent out and our Facebook page, we're trying to launch as much program and make this process as simple and as rewarding for Scout families as we can. And so I'll start by talking through some of the options that are available for Cub Scouts. First of which, and then full credit to our friends in the Hawkeye Council. They created this. We made a couple of modifications and have posted and shared for all of you. This is the 30-day Cub Scout Challenge. And so if you look at each of these, and they're posted on that Scouting at Home webpage, there's a 30-day Cub Scout Challenge for each level of Cub Scouts. It works through 4 or 5 different adventure loops over the course of the 30 days. It's broken down into simple activities that kids can do at home with mom or dad without necessarily having to have a den leader present. So we look at this as a great way to continue the scouting program, to keep kids engaged, and to be able to introduce some fun and exciting activities into what is now home and school and church, all wrapped up in the same location, right? And so we know that kids are going to struggle a little bit with e-learning and with the lack of ability to have some of those organized fun activities. This is our way to put some resources in parents' hands on a scheduled basis to be able to help them continue their Scouts advancement and for Scouts to continue to have fun. We're also working to support den leaders and unit leaders in any way we can to continue to hold virtual meetings. I can tell you the den leader in our house has already recorded 2 virtual den meetings for her dens. My bear son serves as the videographer, and my wolf daughter serves as the actress in the videos with a little bit of voiceover from their den leader. And she's pushing those out via Remind and via Scoutbook to her den. Those are videos that I'll share on the council page as well, just so that other den leaders get some ideas about how can we continue to meet and how can we continue to serve kids. Certainly, you can meet live via Zoom like this as a den. Some den leaders have already done so. I will tell you it's just as chaotic as it is when you have 7 or 8 Cub Scouts running around a room because they all want to talk at the same time. And until you master the Zoom or the mute feature, like we've done tonight, it makes it a little bit of a challenge. But know that you need to let a little bit of that go, right? Kids need a little bit of time to talk to their friends and talk over each other and run around their house and show off their items for that den meeting to their Cub Scout friends. And that's okay. Give them the opportunity to do that. We're also working on, and the governor's announcement today may put a little bit of a hitch in this, but we're working on the ability to offer a virtual Pinewood Derby. And I'll tell you what our concept was here. Full disclosure, we may not be able to do this based on current regulations, but what we want to do is offer the opportunity for individual Cub Scout packs who haven't yet had their Pinewood Derby to send all of their cars to a collection point, name them, label them with pack number, den, Scout's name, and then we'll collect those and run them, and we'll run them via Facebook Live at a pre-scheduled time. We're looking at April 18th as a date for that, to be able to allow those Cub Scouts to have their race, albeit it won't be in person, but certainly will allow them the opportunity to race and to see it on Facebook Live. So that's one of the things that's in works. No promises yet on that because there are some logistic things we need to work through. But certainly we see that as a priority and a way to help fulfill a promise. You know, there's a lot of Cub Scouts that have been working on that car right up until now, and their Pinewood Derbies that were scheduled for last weekend or this coming weekend have been canceled, and each of the district races has been canceled. So we look at this as an opportunity to continue to serve you and the rest of our leaders. The other piece I'd like to highlight is certainly now is a time for us as Scouters to take the lead and show our communities that there are still good turns that you can do, and that scouting has a foothold in the good turn market. So it's certainly something we preach, and I'd ask each of you to remind your Scouts that there are ways that they can continue to serve their community now. Even when they're quarantined at home, there are things that they can do. And so we just encourage you, when you have a Scout who is a shining example of that, post it to our Facebook page so that we can continue to share those with other leaders and just recognize those scouts who are living by the Scout Oath and Law and really being a great example for their peers. So let's move on to Scouts BSA and some of the things we've got working there. That was your cue, Brian, to move. There you go. Great.
Sorry, I'm monitoring Facebook at the same time and answering questions over here. This is really pushing my abilities here, just so everyone's aware.
Very good. So in the same vein with Scouts BSA, I want to give a shout out to some of our troops that have already created some online platforms. Troop 335, Troop 519 are already set up and operating in a virtual world, allowing troop meetings to continue, and most importantly, building in the ability for youth to continue to lead in those environments. It's so important for the continuity of the scouting program, but also that we figure out a way to execute the scouting program in as close to ideal setting as possible. So super excited about that. We've also launched this virtual merit badge group and have had a ton of great feedback and involvement there. Shout out to Bob Samlin, who's on our call tonight. Bob's teed up for one of the first virtual merit badges that we're going to be offering, so that's super exciting. And just seen a lot of great interest in scouts and leaders to take advantage of the merit badge program now, maybe in a different way than they have in the past. And so certainly when you look at what the merit badge program was designed for, right? It's designed to introduce scouts to new and exciting opportunities, something that may become a career or a lifelong hobby for them, and help them progress in their advancement, ideally to the Eagle Scout rank, although that's not always the case. And so right now we have the opportunity, while we have a captive audience who's looking for something different to do while they continue their scouting journey, to be able to engage with them at home and create some merit badge opportunities. So really excited to see how this works. I think it's going to be a huge success. So again, thanks to all of you that have already jumped onto that and who will continue to be a part of that. Another thing, I just want to encourage all of you, we're all stuck at home, right? But now more than ever, it's important for you to pick up the phone, and it's important for you to FaceTime and Zoom and be able to see the faces of the people that you work with and you do life with and you do scouting with. It's important for your own sanity, for your mental health. It's important for their mental health. Again, when we think about our scouts, we know that scouts today are under more pressures than any previous generation, kids today in general. And this current pandemic just exacerbates that. Parents are under more stress. One of the premier methods, one of the things that makes scouting so much greater than other youth programs is the adult association aspect. Like it or not, we're all a vital part of the lives of the kids that we work with. So now, as much as any other time, they need to see you. They need to know that you care. They need to know that you're still concerned about their Eagle Scout project or what they're doing, how they're progressing with their schoolwork, whether or not they've finished the last requirement for second class. They need to know that you're engaged in their lives and that you care. So I'd encourage you to look at a way to continue to do that. One of the things I'd remind you is that our youth protection policies are that we're too deep leadership. That also includes when we're in a virtual setting. And so if you're emailing a scout, copy another adult. If you've got a Zoom conference set up with a scout, copy another adult. Just think of it the same as you would if you were at a meeting or in a camp out. Also, again, this is a great opportunity for our Scouts BSA members to continue to do a good turn and again, provide some leadership to their peers. So I've talked a little bit about the upcoming virtual merit badge classes. The first class is tomorrow at noon, hosted by Bob Samblin. That's going to be Safety Merit Badge. So super excited about this opportunity. I don't know how many scouts we have engaged already for this merit badge, but we're kind of hammering out the last of the details. We'll figure out a way to communicate back to Scoutmasters what requirements are completed, and work through those details. But first and foremost, we wanted to be able to put a platform in place and give kids the opportunity for that continuity and to be able to continue to be a part of the scouting journey. So when we talk about adult leaders and parents, we're going to offer some opportunities like this. I know that, and I can see, I mean, I see the feedback on all of your faces that you love seeing me, and that's great. I'm going to be able to do this as often as possible, especially Jeff, who's really excited about that. We're going to do this a couple of times a month, probably, just as a way to be able to continue to share information with you, and allow you to look for some, or to ask questions of us or look for whatever feedback you need. I would encourage you all too. Kids right now are working on e-learning. There's absolutely no reason why our adult leaders can't work on e-learning too. And so now would be a great time to finish the training that you need to do in My.Scouting, or if you have leaders in your troop or your pack that haven't completed their training, or parents that you're looking to recruit as the next generation of leaders. Now's the time to encourage them to take the opportunity and brush up on some of that training. One of the things I'd also encourage you to do too, if you look at some of the early first den meeting trainings for Cub Scouts, there's a lot of information about working with kids in a den setting and working with kids, providing leadership to kids and teaching kids in a unique way. Now would be a good time for parents who struggle a little bit to brush up on some of those. So certainly resources like youth protection training are available all the time. They're available to all leaders and all parents. The new youth protection training modules include a ton of great resources for parents about keeping kids safe in a variety of ways, including their mental health. And so it's a great resource for parents and for community members now to be able to utilize, just to get a good sense of where their kid is right now and how they serve kids best. We're going to look to hold our April and May roundtables via this Zoom platform as well. We don't have an agenda for those yet. Certainly we'll be looking for some key volunteers to be a part of that, and want to make sure that those are useful and provide some ongoing training for those of you that need it. And a way for us just, again, to reach out to you with the most current information, with updated events, with challenges or opportunities that we might have for our leaders and for Scouts. So stay tuned for those. They'll be April 8th and May 6th. They'll be 7 o'clock each, and they'll be via Zoom. We will share those links and information with you as they come about. Another piece that I think is worth sharing with everybody, you're all certainly familiar with the cyber chip program, and in addition to that, the new BSA Protect Yourself Rules Adventure. So with kids stuck at home right now, all kids are e-learning. All kids are probably more engaged with the internet and online resources right now than they typically are or ever have been. Now, as leaders and parents, it's probably the right time for us to look at that cyber chip program and look at the recharge and make sure that kids know how to keep themselves safe in an online virtual world. Sorry, I'm getting a little dry throat there. So I'd certainly encourage all of you to review that. Let's make sure that's something we're reminding our Scouts about. Certainly the cyber chip is a great program. It's designed for kids at every level, and it's age appropriate, and it includes important topics. So let's encourage them on that. That's also a resource that's available to anyone. So you'll see there's some information on our website about that. We're also in the process of reaching out to some of our local community partners because we know that parents outside of the scouting world need a resource for this as well. So don't hesitate to share information like this with your friends, your Little League team, or any other sphere where you engage with parents. This is a resource for parents to keep their kids safe. It's not just a scouting opportunity. And so that goes both for the cyber chip and for the protect yourself rules adventures. There are resources in both of those that are good for all kids. And we certainly welcome the opportunity to be of service to our community and our neighbors with those. So please don't hesitate to share those. Likewise, don't hesitate to share any of the advancement stuff that we're pushing out. If you know a family, whether they're a Scout family or not, that could benefit from the 30-day Cub Scout Challenge, share it with them. This is an opportunity for all parents to engage with their kids, whether they're involved in our programs or not. And I think it's in our best interest as a movement and as a community to share the resources that we've been blessed with as many families as possible. So I want to talk a little bit about summer camp. We are praying that summer camp goes on as scheduled. This is the 75th anniversary of Camp Buffalo. Billy and his team have been working on some awesome additions to camp that we're really excited about. So we're praying that all of this clears up and we're able to move on as normal. And we would ask all of you to continue to join us in that prayer and to continue on planning as though summer camp is going to happen. If you had a reservation or a quitclaim deed to attend a week of summer camp at Camp Buffalo, you should have received an email from us last week letting you know that merit badge classes went live last Friday. You can now enter all your scouts in Campmaster and schedule their merit badges out. We'd encourage you to do that. Let them get their picks early and begin planning. We'd encourage you to continue making those early bird payments and pay up so that we can plan accordingly. And we would guarantee or make the promise to you that should we get in the position where we can't have summer camp, we'll refund everyone's money. But that's certainly the right thing to do. We'll honor that. We want to make sure that troops are strong and packs are strong. And so we'll be able to do that. We'll plan accordingly. But for the time being, we're preparing and planning as though summer camp's going to happen, and it's going to be the best summer ever, celebrating the 75th anniversary of Camp Buffalo. I'd also tell you there's a committee of volunteers who are working on some really cool stuff for the 75th anniversary, to include some commemorative memorabilia, a book chronicling the history of Camp Buffalo, some new program opportunities, including a drone obstacle course. We're finalizing the details on horsemanship merit badge. So all kinds of cool stuff that we're trying to add to summer camp in addition to the great stuff that Billy and his team already put on. So looking forward to having a record-setting year this summer at Camp Buffalo. And right now, the numbers for camp look great. The last piece I'd share with you, and just as an opportunity to circle around, for most of you, now, last week or in a coming week was our annual Friends of Scouting presentation with your PAX Blue and Gold or your Troops Court of Honor. And so I would just encourage all of you, if you're in a place to be able to continue to support Scouting now, we'd encourage you to do that. Certainly some of you may want to wait on that, and we understand. We just ask that you continue to think about ways that you can support Scouting, and for us, Friends of Scouting is the biggest portion of that. Donor dollars through Friends of Scouting make up a significant portion of the council's annual budget and allow us to be able to do the things that we do now and the things that we do year-round, including supporting our volunteers and operating great programs and providing training for leadership. So certainly we'd encourage you to do that. We have a new opportunity this year through a new platform. You can text BSA FOS to the number listed on your screen. It's 844-615-4269. And that allows anyone to give to the Friends of Scouting campaign completely online. That's a new platform that we have. We're just trying to make that as easy as possible for our families and our donors. So with that I believe is my last slide. Brian, do you want to maybe bring us up to speed on some of the questions that are lingering? And I guess the other part I would add to that is If somebody has a question, go ahead and come off, take yourself off mute, and let's try and do this in an orderly fashion if you do have questions that we can answer for you.
All right, so I was trying to keep up with the chat function and Facebook. I think the only question that I've been hit with that I didn't have a chance to answer was about a potential extension on the early bird because they can't physically meet right now to meet with their parents to get the money for the early bird. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so that early bird deadline set at May 15. Let me make a note of that.
April 15.
I'm sorry, April 15. Let me make a note of that. And yes, we will figure out how we go about doing that and what that looks like.
Okay. There was some questions on where to find that information about the safety merit badge. So what I'd like to do real quick, Ben, is just go back to the live website real quick, share my screen and let everybody see where that information is.
Sure.
So stand by here, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, guys, I got to talk through that. Hang on. Let's minimize the PowerPoint. Minimize that. Okay, so if you go to sagamorebsa.org, you're back to our main page. Okay, come down to Scouting at Home. Scroll down towards the middle of the page. Here's the Sagamore Council Virtual Merit Badge classes. And then here's the information about Safety Merit Badge right here in the middle. Also, you would find that same information on the council calendar as well, which is right here, tomorrow, Safety Merit Badge, Virtual Merit Badge class. And I think I would add to that, if anybody is doing a group-oriented session like the one that Bob is doing tomorrow, if you give it to me a couple of days in advance, I can gladly, hang on here, stop sharing.
Governor's direction, as well as the local health departments. And we're getting some guidance from the national organization of the Boy Scouts as well. So I don't have an answer for that right now, but I'll tell you, as soon as we know, we'll start to share that information as to when we're projecting it's going to be okay to continue troop campouts or counselor district activities. That way you've got a little bit of planning time. We realize if this all gets lifted miraculously tomorrow, that doesn't mean you're going to be ready to have a camp out this weekend. So we want to give you as much time to plan for that as possible.
Eagle Scout applicants, where can they send their extension request?
Great question. Why don't you send them directly to me for now? You can send them to ben.blumenberg@scouting.org. So there is a, on that Scouting at Home page, we put a link to an FAQ piece about advancement. There's essentially a temporary waiver in the process that allows the local council to provide some extensions that would typically be a national council opportunity. So I will review those. We'll work those through the appropriate council committees and be able to take care of that.
All right, Ben, I think that's everything that's been asked at this point.
Okay, any other questions from the group while we've got people online? Feel free to take yourself off mute if you have a question or a comment.
I just typed one in. I don't know if Brian had a chance to look at it. If doing the Zoom group merit badges, should we connect the scout with that merit badge advisor?
I guess I don't know. I'm not following your question, Jim.
So let's say my son wants to do the safety merit badge tomorrow. Should I go ahead and connect him with that advisor beforehand?
You mean through Scoutbook?
Yes.
I think if you have the ability to do that through Scoutbook, go ahead and do that. It certainly makes it easier on the back end.
Right. That's what I was kind of questioning. So that way we can take care of the scouts out of the way.
Otherwise, for those scouts that aren't using Scoutbook, we'll work through to get a list of completions and requirements completed or partials from the counselor. and the council will redistribute that information back to unit leaders.
They're looking for some clarification on Scout Book and how those connections work and how we're going to communicate that. I think the best thing at this point, Ben, is probably for us to put a FAQ out that kind of alludes to this. Obviously, this is new territory for everybody. So if everybody would just give us 24 or 48 hours to put an FAQ together, or some best methods, if you will. Ben and I were talking about this afternoon, guys, so this isn't new to us. We just haven't got all the answers yet. So if that would appease everybody, give me 24 or 48 hours, and I'll have something out to everybody.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Well, I would just say again, thank you all. You know, what you're doing right now is incredibly important. The ability to continue on in your leadership role and continue to mentor young people is important, is as important now as ever. So thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for continuing on. Thanks for keeping kids at the forefront, and appreciate everything you do. Good scouting.
Have a good night, everybody.